The island of Sodor is surrounded by beautiful blue sea. It has fields of green and sandy yellow beaches. There are rivers, streams and lots of trees where the birds sing. There are windmills and a coal mine and docks where visitors to the island arrive. The island also has lots and lots of railway lines. Who's that puffing down the track? It's Thomas. Hello, Thomas. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the island of Sodor.
Overloaded. Toby was the only Sodor steam tramp on the island of Sodor with his only coach, Henrietta. He could carry lots of passengers all over the island when they were needed. And he even pleasing a back controller could be a really useful engine. But one summer's morning, he was worried. So many workmen were needed at the quarry that Henrietta wasn't able to carry them all. Bertie did his best to help, but he couldn't get closer than the quarry gate.
We need another coach to take all the men all the way inside,
Toby complained. One morning, Bertie didn't feel well, and Henrietta was all on her own. More and more workmen climbed into her.
Help! Help!
She explained.
I shan't be able to move. I can't either,
Grumbled the workmen.
We're too squashed together.
Henrietta has a balcony at each end. And soon, even these were packed, she was fuller than ever before. Toby had a hard job starting.
Come on! Come on! Come on! Come on!
Toby fussed impatiently, his wheels slipping on the damp rails. And at last, he was on his way, but Henrietta has lots and lots of workmen, which is too heavy for her to carry. People on the street stared as the train struggling past. Toby rang his bell cheerfully, but Henrietta wasn't so happy. But Toby was sure that he would get to the quarry in time with her. Suddenly, a car came out outside of the street. In front of them, Toby's driver put on the brakes at once. The train stopped quickly, but some of the workmen were pushed against the railing of Henrietta's front balcony. It bent, but luckily it didn't break. Poor Henrietta knew she couldn't be able to carry the workmen all by herself. Toby sadly agreed with her. Just then, a policeman passing on the bicycle stopped and made a note on his pad.
Oh dear,
Henrietta said to herself.
that means trouble, I think.
She was right. The next day, the policeman visited the quarry manager.
This is a fine law, sir,
He said,
which says that passengers should not be carried on the end balconies of railway carriages. I'm sorry,
the manager said.
it doesn't usually happen, but a bus couldn't run today. Please make sure it doesn't happen again,
said the policeman sternly, and he walked away with his bicycle. Later, the quarry manager telephoned the Fat Controller to see if he could help, but the Fat Controller wasn't hopeful, and the quarry manager went home for tea, smacking his head with his hand and gave a deep sigh.
If only we need another coach,
he said. A few days later, Thomas stopped at the station by the river. As they waited, they heard a buzzing noise from behind a thick hedge that grew nearer the platform. Suddenly, there was a rustling and a loud crash. A man's head appeared above the hedge. He had a saw in his hands. "It's nice to see the railway once more," he said cheerfully. "It's been like a jungle in here." Later, Thomas stopped there again.
Hello.
Said a shaky voice. Thomas was puzzled, but his driver had heard it too. He looked over the edge and saw a very old, very broken down railway coach. "What's your name?" asked the driver.
Victoria.
Replied the coach shyly.
Will you tell Mrs. Driver?
But before he could answer, the guard's whistle blew, and they had to go. Thomas puffed away, thinking about her coach. "I wonder if we can tell this to Toby," thought Thomas. "He'd be happy to hear the news." At the top station, Toby told Thomas about the Workmen. "I really need another coach," he said sadly. "But we just found one," said Thomas excitedly. "She's in an orchard near the river, and she is old and lonely. She's got no wheels, and her roof leaks like a sieve," interrupted Thomas's driver. "Don't even think about it." But Thomas did think about it, and asked the Fat Controller. The Fat Controller listened, made some arrangement, then telephoned the Quarry Manager. The Quarry Manager finally turned his emotional smile into a smiling face.
I gotta tell Toby and Henrietta about this,
he said excitedly. The next morning, he came to the quarry to see Toby and Henrietta.
"Come on in, Toby,"
He greeted them the next day.
"It's going to be alright.
He went on.
The Fat Controller says don't worry about another coach, because he has something up his sleeve."
Toby and Henrietta felt very, very happy. They were very excited about another coach that would help them to carry all the workmen. Soon after a while, Thomas had rescued Victoria from her own lonely adventure, and he put her into the breakdown crane. And then, with a cheerful peep peep, he took her to the repair yard. "Now this is what I call rescue," said Thomas happily. Victoria shyly agreed.